Now, listen, folks, Emma's unable to be with us, so Professor Kevin Curran, the Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University, joins us for today's digital slot. Kevin, always a pleasure and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Right. Kevin, the AI thing, I don't know where to scratch my head. I know you're probably loving a lot of the AI stuff, but hold on. Our fingerprints are not unique, potentially, after all.
Yes, yeah. Artificial intelligence is making breakthroughs in so many ways, but these researchers in the US and Columbia University examined 60,000 fingerprints to see if they could work out which belonged to the same individual. And up to 90% accuracy, they could tell which prints from different fingers came from the one person.
Amazing. So what's that? Right, okay, yeah.
Well, it's found a new way to analyze fingerprints that we were not aware of. In other words, that there is a correspondence, even though your fingerprints are unique, unless you're an identical twin. But actually, there is a correlation between the fingerprints, the patterns in your fingers on different fingers. And the AI is able to actually match which fingerprint, because, for instance, they might have a good recording or print of your thumb, for instance, but you might leave your index fingerprint behind somewhere else, and it's kind of partially, and it's not discovered. But by having them check against your thumbprint, which identifies you, their AI would be able to match up to say that index finger puts you at the scene of the crime, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Well, wow. Right, okay, get your heads around that, folks. Kevin, a very practical one, because look, I'll be honest, I've heard this talked about an awful lot in this part of the world. In terms of these gadgets you can get to put on the side of your telly that gets you all the sort of fancy telly, the subscription telly for free. Look, let's not pretend that we don't know that this is going on in society. But what's happening here in terms of what you've noticed? I think the word being used is a crackdown. Tell us more.
Yeah, okay, so many people use a Firestick. It's a TV plug-in you can get from Amazon, actually, for legal purposes, really. But you can sideload apps onto these, put on media streaming services again. So a lot of people around the UK and around the world actually are using these Fire Sticks, which enable them to stream, for instance, paid services, like Hulu and Disney and Sky TV and BT Sport, for instance, again. So people watch sport on these devices again. So up until now, the only people who have been prosecuted are the people who were selling the devices. But the Federation Against Copyright Theft, FACT UK, have said that they send out up to 1,000 cease and desist letters to individuals who are using the streaming services again illegally on a Fire Stick. Again, so for the first time ever, we're seeing prosecutions or at least letters being sent out to individuals who they've determined are using Fire Sticks in their house. The
consumer, I got you. Well, I mean, that's going to affect an awful lot of people, Kevin. And in fairness, those subscription services, I'm not a fan of Sky and all that stuff. I think it's extortionate, the money that some of those things are charging. But this is their livelihood, as much as anything, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, the law of the land is again, and not supposed to use these devices again, but they actually have worked so well again. You get great quality in these. You couldn't even tell that they're illegal if you're using someone's TV. Whatever channel you're tuned into, they've improved so much over time. Again, and you're getting it for a fraction of what you would pay for if you're paying full. And when do you think this will all start kicking in? Because it's almost like the licensing bans come round. All the cliches about that down the years. But when do you think this will kick in, Kevin? It started with the Merseyside UK police again. So again, it's a slow thing. It's very difficult technically to determine whether someone is using one of these devices again. It's not like the old TV vans outside your house. Yeah. Literally, it has to come back to IP addresses again. Something they're able to determine again. You're using this app, you're going to this particular website which hosts an illegal service again, and then have to go to the ISP, your internet service provider, and then get your address off there and then write you a letter again. So it would be determined through your internet service provider. And again, but of course, if people are using virtual private networks and whatever else, just maybe looking for the service to go to, they will be undetectable.
Gotcha. Okay. Kevin, staying with the modern gadgetry and all the potential of it and all the sort of malignancy that it can be, associated with hidden cameras. I think all of us are savvy enough these days to go, well, you're going you just trust in the goodwill of people, right? In terms of changing rooms, public spaces, supposedly private spaces, Kevin. But when it comes to Airbnb, and there's plenty of that in this part of the world, what is this about testing to see if you're being watched and not knowing that you're being watched, say in your Airbnb?
Yeah, there have been cases where people have gone to Airbnbs and the owner of the Airbnb flat or house again has been recording them again. So again, because obviously they're not under the same scrutiny as a hotel. which could happen in a hotel too, but it's less likely again. But so one way you go there and you want to figure out if there's like a hidden camera. Or a camera just watching you from somewhere it's concealed again. So you could turn off all the lights and use a flashlight to see can you get the telltale reflection of the camera lens again. And you can also, there's also apps again like Fing again, which can sniff out cameras connected to the Wi-Fi. But to be honest, you got to be technical for that to be able to see.
But turn off all the lights, use a flashlight, and if there's any wee blue flashes, that tends to be the telltale sign, right?
Exactly. And also cameras use infrared light to capture images again. So what you can see, you can see it, but the camera can see it. So what you do is take your selfie camera, put it on, lights off again, and just aim it around the room again. So it should be able to detect any infrared again, which cameras give off again. So again, just use your camera app, scan the room, look for any similar flashes again, like blue coming from somewhere. Again, look for pots and behind mirrors again. So these are places that could be hidden again. It's just that if you just suspect again, it's just a way to check for hidden cameras using your phone.
Kevin, at super short notice today. Thank you for that. And just brilliant stories there. Thank you so much for that. That's Professor Curran, Kevin Curran, of the Ulster University at McGee. And I heard gadgetry. I heard that these garden, the robots that cut your lawn these days, apparently they're having a whack at hedgehogs. There's a whole thing there about hedgehogs. I feel very passionate about hedgehogs personally. That's a story for a different day, but we need to get into that. Have you ever come across, let's call it a compromised hedgehog at the hands or the wheels of your robot lawnmower? Right, folks, after 1:10, 20 minutes with